This podcast is sponsored by the Fireman Moving Company. The Fireman Moving Company is the official moving company of WKU Athletics. Not only can they be trusted to move all the coaches in and out of Western, but they can move you anywhere nationwide. The Fireman Moving Company is owned and operated by firemen and is founded by WKU alumni. If you are looking to move sometime soon, give them a call at 270-791-1755 and get yourself a free quote. Welcome to Topper Talk, your number one Western Kentucky athletics podcast. I'm your host, Stephen Moffitt, and I'm joined by co-host Tyler Bailey. Hilltopper Nation, whether it's happening on the hill or on the road, grab those red towels, stand up and cheer, because it's up next on Topper Talk. Welcome back, and thank you for downloading and listening to another episode of the Topper Talk podcast. We are the official podcast of the Red Towel Trust Collective, and we are a proud member of the College Huddle podcast community. As always, make sure you're following us on all of our social media platforms. Head on over to our YouTube channel at Topper Talk Podcast. Make sure you subscribe over there and get updated every time we release a new episode. And as always, I have got Tyler here with me. We have got a lot of info to dive into. Tyler, are you ready to get into it?
Always ready to get into it, boy. Let's go.
And of course, that starts with our Red Towel wrap up, which catches us up with all the athletics news that we've missed since we last recorded, and is brought to us by Trent Bedding Company.
Don't forget your headboards, pillows, and your sheets. We got everything you need for a good night's sleep. Number one on the same check, best of Bowling Green.
All right. Hey! Twins, full, queen and king, mattresses for anything. Come and pick it out and we can bring it to your house. Have you sleeping real good before the weekend's out. Trent Bedding. It's just like a mattress store. Hey.
All right, to kick it on off, we got Coach Will Friend being hired by UNC to be their offensive line coach. Carson Hall was officially announced by Baylor football as is being hired for their defensive line position coach. Former coach Grant Chestnut is being hired at Colorado State as a tight ends coach. Former coach Caden Malone going to Coastal Carolina, where he will be rejoined with our former running back coach Andre Crenshaw. He's going to Coastal Carolina as well.
Yeah, and of course, those guys going to Coastal Carolina are following former quarterback coach and offensive coordinator Drew Hollingshead, who was hired by them a couple weeks ago. So, congratulations to those guys. As well as Grant Chestnut following Tyson Summers to Colorado State, and then Carson Hall getting snagged by Baylor. Not mad at him. We knew he was a young, great coach that eventually was going to be on someone else's radar. And then the Will Friend being hired to North Carolina to be their offensive line coach. I think we're all in agreement that his experience as the offensive coordinator last season maybe wasn't what we needed or wanted or expected. And obviously the moves I think we're making this offseason kind of highlight that. And I think we're going to go in a different direction. Even though that position hasn't been officially announced, it has been rumored. And eventually, here any day, I would imagine it'll be an official hiring of our new offensive coordinator. But, I do wish the best of luck to all those men moving on to other situations, and I appreciate their time they had here on the Hill.
All right, so we talked about some people leaving. Let's talk about the ones we're bringing in. WKU is hiring Jimmy Lindsey as their defensive line coach and Brian Applewhite as our running back coach. They're also hiring Kylie James from Jackson State to be their defensive tackles coach. Former wide receiver Coy Moore is also transferring to UNLV.
Yeah, so obviously we've moved a lot of coaches out, some guys taking other opportunities. So we got to bring some guys in. And, the first name on that list is a very familiar name. Jimmy Lindsey has been a coach here before. He is an excellent recruiter. Can't wait to have him back here on the Hill, helping us snag some really good talent that Georgia pipeline that he had. I'm really excited to see what he can do. Then Brian Applewhite coming in as the running backs coach. I've heard nothing but good things about him. from people in the coaching ranks that know him or have crossed paths with him. And the same goes for Callie James, being hired from Jackson State. He's actually a former teammate of former WKU Hilltopper CJ Mariah, otherwise known as Chef C, who was on the show previously. He is very happy and very high on this hiring. Says that man is a great coach, a great motivator of young men. So I'm really happy for all of those coaches. Glad to bring them on staff. I think that's an underrated part of what Coach Helton does as a leader of the program, as a program manager. He is always identifying young coaching talent and getting them on the staff, and helping them move up, to higher ranks within WKU, and then eventually, other jobs elsewhere. I think that's part of what being a good leader is about, is helping, young coaches reach their full potential. And that's not always going to be here. It might be elsewhere as well. So really happy for all those hires being made. Then obviously Coy Moore going to UNLV. I wish him the best of luck.
Moving on, our fall 24 sports had a cumulative GPA of 3.24. All 14 programs had a GPA of a 3.0 and plus.
Yeah, as much as we talk about the athletic side of things, I think it can't go under the radar when we have such a successful academic semester like we just had. I think it was an all-time high GPA for us, 3.24 across all sports, all 14 sports programs being above a 3.0. And these are student athletes that, their schedule is just jam-packed with meetings and trainings and uh, study hall, film session, just everything that they have to do as a Division I athlete. I mean, their schedule is nonstop, um, just to focus on their sport, and then they also are excelling in the classroom as well. So, hats off to them. I know I wasn't in that 3.24 class when I was at Western, so it just makes you appreciate that even more, knowing how much they have on their plate. So congratulations to all of our student athletes.
Moving on to WKU tennis, they had a match against EKU. WKU pulled out the victory 6-1. And then they also had a match against Vandy postponed, and it will be rescheduled for March 16th.
Yeah, always nice to open this season with a win, especially when it's against EKU and those Colonels. Took pretty easy work of them, 6-1. Kind of cruised to an easy victory to open the season. Then we had a road trip scheduled down in Nashville against Vanderbilt this past Sunday. But if you're here local to Bowling Green, we got a little bit of snow. A little less than an inch, I'd say, but just enough to make that trip not worth the hazard of trying to get down there, and something could potentially happen to those athletes. So that was postponed, and was just announced earlier today that it was rescheduled for Sunday, March 16th. So glad to see that one back on the schedule. That's a nice, easy trip for our athletes to make down there to Nashville and play an SEC school. So looking forward to that one.
Now we're going to be talking about some golfers, or a golfer. WKU lady topper golfer Katie Craig. She was invited to play in the Augusta National Women's Amateur, which I gotta say that's a dream come true to play Augusta. I know for almost any golfer, they would say that's a dream come true to be able to get out there and just walk it, let alone play it. But congratulations, Katie.
Yeah, really awesome news for Katie. I mean, pretty much anytime there's golf news, it feels like it revolves around Katie and something that she's doing. But she's earned every bit of it. She is a great person, a great student, and obviously a very talented golfer. So very prestigious honor for her to get an invitation to play in that Augusta National Women's Amateur. Like you said, that's kind of the the holy grail of golf courses, here stateside. Yeah, that's an honor. We're glad, that she felt the need to tag us when she put that news out there. I'm glad that she recognizes that we are there to support her. She obviously has been on the podcast as well, did an interview with us. So glad to help her share that news. Can't wait for that event to be played so we can cheer her on and highlight her successes when she's there representing, herself and the Hilltoppers. So definitely a big congratulations and well-deserved honor for Katie Craig.
Now we're going to be talking about some track and field at the Bellarmine Open. Cameron Horton, he won the 60-meter hurdles. Jaden Freeman won the 60-meter dash. Burnell Desinor won the 400-meter dash. Wade Balcom, he placed second in the 800-meter dash. Sterling Weldon, second in the long jump. Also Sterling Weldon, first in the triple jump. Sam Crenshaw, first in the pole vault. Sophia Roskowski, third in the pole vault. Sonia Washington, first in 60-meter dash, and Nyla Martin, first in the 3,000-meter run.
Yeah, there is a lot more results than that. As always, if you want to go over to WKUsports.com to get the full results for every event and every single athlete, we're just highlighting those ones that finished, first, second, or third. And we had a bunch of them, quite frankly, and several that had personal best. Sam Crenshaw, freshman pole vaulter, took first, also set a school record with his attempt, and I think we'll be talking about him here again shortly. But just a lot of good coming out of the very first track and field meet of the season. So congratulations to all those athletes.
Yeah, you're right. Speaking of Sam Crenshaw, he has won the Conference USA Male Athlete and Freshman of the Week award. Lady Topper basketball, they beat MTSU 63-58, and sadly, former Hilltopper Jesse Stewart, who won a national championship in shot put in 1974, has sadly passed away.
Yeah, touching on Sam Crenshaw winning the Male Athlete of the Week. Like I said earlier, he broke a school record, didn't just break it, but shattered a school record. And this is a true freshman pole vaulter. So his first ever collegiate meet, breaking records, and has one of the best jumps in the nation currently. So definitely well-deserved honor for him to win that Male Athlete and Freshman of the Week. And then the Lady Toppers, while the men were playing MTSU at Murfreesboro, the Lady Toppers were hosting the Lady Raiders here in Diddle Arena. The Lady Raiders had won 33 consecutive Conference USA games, dating back 2+ years. Came in, again, rolling over everybody in conference. Really good team, been to the tournament the last couple of years, but the Lady Toppers got down early. We were losing 10-19 after the first quarter. At the end of the second quarter, still that same 9-point deficit, but in the third quarter, don't call it a comeback, man. We just started making shots. We switched to zone defense, started turning over the MTSU squad, took the lead and held on, and was able to get a huge victory, man. It was very impressive to see. We've talked about Coach Collins and kind of the turnaround that we've seen this year. The roster was made over a little bit with some impactful transfers. We got a little bit healthier than we were last year. And now we see how good this team can be. We've been talking about for a while. They've won some big games. They had a really good non-conference. They won 9 games in non-conference this year. Started conference play a little bit slow. Split their first 4 games, but now they just hosted and beat the best team in the league. Arguably, I don't think many people would say that they're still not the best team or the team to beat down. Getting into the middle part of the Conference USA play, but we've shown we can beat them. That's a rival. That's a game you want to win every single time. And hopefully they can build upon that and use that to springboard into a really successful, rest of the Conference USA play season. Because I think there's still a lot of wins on the schedule for them. And then why not go make some noise in Huntsville? Stay healthy, put it together, keep getting better. And, anything can happen when we get down to Huntsville. We saw that last year for the men. And then the passing of Jesse Stewart, former track and field shot put thrower here. I didn't realize that we had a national champion shot put thrower in 1974. And even more interesting, he won it in 1974. He also was runner up 3 other times. So he was top 2 in the nation 4 times and was able to win it in 1974. So, obviously a really good athlete when he was here. And obviously rest in peace. It just seems like we're losing a lot of greats the last few years, Hilltopper Hall of Famers and just all-time legends. Hate to see it, and definitely thoughts and prayers for the Stewart family.
For sure. That's always a sad message to see whenever a Hilltopper legend or Hall of Famer passes away. And you're right, prayers with the family, and I hope they can find some peace and solace in this turmoil. But that concludes this week's Red Towel Wrap Up. Moff, back to you.
Lots of stuff as always, man. Been 5 or 6 days since we recorded, put an episode out, and just always jam packed, full of information, a ton of good stuff. Love talking about Katie Craig. Getting a huge opportunity. The academic side of thing, the 3.24 GPA across all of our athletes. Then the Lady Toppers beating the Lady Blue Raiders. I wish we could talk more about that as we head into the main part of the episode, and that's recapping the 100 Miles of Hate men's basketball game that just happened down in Murfreesboro this past Saturday. The announced attendance for that game in Murfreesboro was a pretty impressive 6,512 people. Obviously, as you know by now, if you're listening, WKU did lose that game by a score of 57-71. After that loss, WKU has dropped to 11-7 overall with a 2-3 record in conference play, while MTSU is now 13-5 overall and 4-1 in conference play. The big news and the storyline and what everybody's talking about is obviously the Julius Thedford injury in the middle of that game. The game started slow, was really close. WKU was ahead for a lot of the time. But then when Julius went down with that apparent, dislocated kneecap injury, it just kind of unraveled for us. We had stayed competitive in the game. It held MTSU defensively. We'd had a really good game, but after that happened, I don't know, it just seemed like the mojo was off, the mood was off for the team. We were leading 28-27 at half, but then MTSU was able to outscore us 44-29 in the second half. Again, all after that injury. Just couldn't quite put it back together, couldn't make enough shots, couldn't get enough stops, whatever it was. The injury bug at this point this season, it is what it is. It's going to be a tough road to hoe as we move forward. We did hear today, as we record late Tuesday, Coach Plona had his media availability and press conference this afternoon, and did announce that Julius would not need surgery. But that there was some ligament damage, but wouldn't need surgery, and that hopefully would heal on its own in 2 to 4 weeks. So I imagine we'll kind of be in the same wait and see, week to week kind of, whenever he can play, if he can play, kind of like we are with Babacar Faye currently. Could be a couple more weeks, it sounds like, with him, maybe by the end of February, if we're lucky for both of them, quite frankly, which wouldn't be, there might be some tough games between now and then, but, that would kind of put us in prime position to get those guys back a couple weeks before the Conference USA tournament. And then, like we already said once, anything can happen once you get down to Huntsville. And I think if you have that much talent back on the floor, we're still a good team. We can still be a dangerous team. But, Tyler, we've got to talk about this game first and put it behind us. What are your thoughts on this loss and just how it played out down in Murfreesboro?
First half, it wasn't the greatest looking half. I think we were only like we only hit 3 3-pointers. Now, granted, I think MTSU only hit like 2 or something. But what's crazy is we was up by 1 point. Don McHenry hadn't even scored a point at halftime. And then it just seemed like, you're right, the injury occurs. People seem to kind of get knocked off their mojo, but Don McHenry come out and scored all his points. And I know we're going to talk about it here in just a second in stats leaders, but he scored all his points there in the second half. And it just seemed like we would try to play hero ball. One guy would try to drive down there, throw up a layup, miss it. Seemed like the lid just came right back on the basket. And then MTSU would get the rebound and go down and just throw up a freaking Hail Mary from behind the three-point line. It would go in. If not, then they would get the offensive rebound and make just a few passes, and then they would hit their shot. I mean, this one was a hard game to watch. It was very upsetting because, first you are losing to MTSU. And then you just see that lead just keep extending. And, we also in this game had dry spells where we couldn't score. We went 2-3 minutes at a time without scoring a basket there in the second half. And whenever the other team just keeps, it seems like they can't miss, you have to either keep pace or, you just got to do something. You just can't go down there and just keep throwing up bricks and expect, them to miss, because you can't always, you got to keep the fate in your hands and not give it to somebody else.
Yeah, jumping into some of the stat leaders for the game, you mentioned Don McHenry. On the surface, 16 points, 4 rebounds, looks like a pretty, kind of a typical, Don game. He averages right around that 16, 17 points. But like you said, pretty much all that damage was in the second half. A lot of it when the game was already, put to bed, and I don't want to call it garbage time, but we weren't fighting for the lead. Julius was kind of the leader early in the game, but do want to highlight Don was 1 out of 8 from 3. Just could, never really got it going. Sometimes once they start going in, he can put 3-4 of those in in short order, but 1 out of 8 just wasn't the kind of night that we needed, to just keep that momentum and try to pull the upset off on the road. And then we also talked about Julius Stedford. He was the only other player we had in double figure scoring. Even though he left early, he had 10 points and 1 rebound in 8 minutes of action. And then Christian Lander also chipped in 9 points and 5 rebounds. And then I wanted to highlight Blaze Keita as well. Played a really solid 12 minutes. Also, Leroy Odahai, him and Blaze, first half were really effective, but Blaze 4 points and 7 rebounds, our leading rebounder. Definitely wanted to give him some props. He had a tough matchup down low with Isam Mustafa, who just had a really, really solid game. I think he ended up with 18 rebounds, something crazy like that. Just a big boy he was solid. Give it to him. But I do, I like what I saw from Blaze. I like, Leroy continuing to get more comfortable on the court. And we're going to need more of those guys as the season progresses, especially as Baba is still on the sidelines injured and trying to get back. So definitely some positive things to take away, even in a loss. Looking at the team stats, field goal percentage, WKU only shot 33.3% from the field, while MTSU shot 47.3%. 3-pointers, WKU was 5 out of 25 for 20%, while MTSU was 7 out of 21 for 33.3%. The free throw line, WKU was 10 out of 12, which is obviously a good percentage, but Middle Tennessee had as many makes as we had attempts. They were 12 out of 20. And then total rebounds, WKU had 32, while MTSU had 42. So a big deficit, a big margin there in MTSU's favor. And then total blocks on the game, MTSU had 8 blocks, while WKU only had 2. Basically a clean sweep across the board for Middle Tennessee, especially the rebounds, 3-point shooting, field goal shooting. They were just a little bit better than us. And, I'm not going to lean on the injury bug and say, well, we're missing a couple guys, because, guess what? The Middle Tennessee team we played last year was missing a couple guys. We beat them once, they beat us once, And then we went to the Conference USA tournament and blew them out. In a rivalry game, it doesn't matter. It doesn't matter about injuries. It doesn't matter about record. Nothing matters except for go win this game that we're playing today. We didn't do that. They wanted it more. They executed better, gave better effort, and came out on top in this game. Tyler, what are your thoughts on some of these stats and performances before we jump into grades?
Well, I'm with you. I'd like to give Blaze and Leroy both some props because in the first half they held Mustafa to 2 points only. He got them 16 points. He was like Don McHenry, got 16 points there in the second half, and we held him to 6 rebounds, 6 total rebounds in the first half. Now granted, he did end. I'm sorry. He ended with 11 points. He ended with 16 or 18 rebounds. So. In that second half, I guess Coach McDevitt, must have saw something and coached him up and had a game plan. But the free throw percentage, it is a good percentage. Wish we could have got to the line a little bit more. Wish we could have got there maybe 22 times. Because MTSU was leaving some points off the board on their free throws. I'm glad they missed a lot of them. Christian Lander, he played good. Julius Thedford, I watched that injury, and as soon as I saw him go down, my heart kind of stopped there for a little bit. Rebounds, I mean, how many games in a row is this where we've been out rebounded by double digits? At some point you just gotta take pride in yourself and say, no, I'm gonna get that. That rebound's gonna be mine. That board's gonna be mine. Blocks, man, 8, huh? That's tough. It's not, of course, not the end of the world because chances are we probably got the ball out of bounds. But it is good to see Don put points up like that. I wish he could have been better than 1 of 8 from 3-point land up because I feel like as the season has progressed, that's been one of our Achilles heels is we set out there and we just shoot and if you can go in and get an easier basket and then you start building that confidence up and then all of a sudden that basket looks a little bit bigger and I sometimes I wish they would try to do that at least instead of trying to shoot the confidence back into themselves, build that confidence up quickly over time, because the game's only 40 minutes long. But yeah,
that kind of perfectly segues us into some grades for this game. So what have you got for the offense versus MTSU?
Oh gosh, D- on this one. I felt like in the first half I can't remember what percentage we was, but it definitely went down there in the second half.
Yeah, I'm right there with you. It was lower than an average performance, so it was lower than a C. So I've got to go with a D as well. When you shoot 33% for the game and 20% from 3, I mean, just wasn't enough to keep us in the ball game. Especially as the second half wore on. So I think a D is fair. What about the grade for the defense?
Well, defense wise, in the first half, we played great. The only person in double digits for MTSU was that Weston guy, and now Grant, he had 10 points. He only ended up with 14. But Mustafa, Porter, and Counter came alive after they were held to a 2, 6, and 6 points first half. Rebounds at halftime, we had 18. They had 20. That just comes to, in the rebounds, we were out hustled. Of course, it kind of hurts when you don't have a very active big man down there, especially when you have a guy like Mufasa that's just pushing people around. Defense, I'll give them a D as well.
I'm going to go with a C, just an average performance. I think they played pretty well. It just didn't help that we weren't making shots on the other end. I just think that was the bigger red flag in this game was the offensive side. I think defense did enough where we could have been in this game competing to win down the line, but we just weren't making shots. So defense, I'm gonna give them a C. What about your grade for the coaching in this game?
Coaching, I'm still a huge fan of Hank. Coach Hank, I feel like he knows what he's doing. I feel like he makes good game plans. I feel because in the first half, typically we're always great in the first half. It's just in the second half whenever things can sometimes fall apart on us. I'll give him a C minus.
Yeah, I'm gonna go with the C as well. And mainly that's just because we lost. I mean, I think if everyone is not well aware of the uphill battle that we're facing and that he's facing on a game by game and probably practice by practice basis by trying to figure out who he has that's healthy that can go out there and compete and contribute. Hats off to him and obviously athletic trainer John Irwin. We are keeping those men busy. Just trying to get bodies back on the floor, get them healthy and ready to play. So I'm not discouraged at all by the coaching effort. I think there's been a lot of chatter of that here recently. When you're losing some games, that kind of is what it is. The coaching chatter will flare up, but when we're a little healthier and winning some games, rolling through the non-conference part of the schedule, man, people were singing the praises of Coach Hank. But all of a sudden, we get some injuries, and people think he just forgot how to coach versus reality of, man, we have almost an all conference USA injured reserve team, quite frankly. If you look at who's not available on our bench. So I'm still all in with Hank. I think he's going to be a great coach here long term. But I'm going to give him a C for this game. What about your overall grade versus MTSU?
It's going to have to be a D plus for me. Just averaging everything out.
Yeah, I'm right there in that DC range. You lose a game, you lose it to your rival, you lose it by 14. Injuries or no injuries, it is what it is. It wasn't a great game, but we have to put that one behind us and look forward to another road trip. We stay on the road 3 consecutive games. Just finished up that game at Middle Tennessee, and now this Thursday, January 23rd, we head to Louisiana Tech for a 6 p.m. tip. That game will be on CBS Sports Network. We obviously enter that game with 11-7 record. We are 2-3 in Conference USA play. Louisiana Tech is 13-6 overall with a 2-4 in Conference USA record. The ESPN matchup predictor really favors Louisiana Tech with a 71.7% chance of winning. Louisiana Tech is coming off back-to-back road losses in their most recent games to Jacksonville State and Kennesaw State. Life on the road is tough. Louisiana Tech is obviously led by Conference USA preseason player of the year in Daniel Batcho. But like I said, they have struggled a bit in Conference USA play 2-4 when they were predicted to be one of the top 2-3 teams. Just with all the production they had coming back this season, including the preseason player of the year, 6'11" big man Daniel Batcho. That's a good starting point for any team. So, Tyler, what are your thoughts on this road trip and in particularly Louisiana Tech before we jump into the players to watch out for?
If we thought MTSU was a hard game, I mean, I think a lot of Tech is going to be significantly harder, not worse, just harder. I'm looking here at the stat leaders for Conference USA. Daniel Batcho is 4th in the conference in points, 1st in the conference in blocks. Sean Newman, he is 1st in the nation or 1st in the conference in assists. He's like 2nd or 3rd in the nation in assists. Looking up at rebounds, you got Caden Cooper. He's 4th in the conference. And then 3-pointers, they ain't got no one there. If you look at steals, they got Emory Abrams. He's 4th in the conference in steals, and he's 1 behind Don McHenry, who is 3rd place. But I mean, this is going to be a hard game. I feel like some of our kind of hardest fought wins or losses come down there at La Tech, because they do have history of being a good basketball school. And that's just kind of it when you got 2 good teams like these, like we typically are consistently year in, year out, meet up. It's kind of like 2 heavyweights fighting it out, and it's going to be a hard, scrappy win or game to play.
Yeah, that's for sure. It's always tough playing and winning down there in Ruston at the TAC. If I recall correctly, I think we won down there last year, and it was the first time we had won there in 30 some odd years. It had been a long time since we had won on the road at Louisiana Tech, and it's not going to get any easier this season. Just looking at our injuries and what we're dealing with, but we also have to talk about who they have available, and that does start with their leading scorer is Daniel Bacho. He's number 13. He is a 6'11" senior. He's averaging 18.7 points per game and 6.9 rebounds per game. Their leading rebounder is Caden Cooper. He is number 11. He is a 6'5" sophomore guard. That's right. Their leading rebounder is a 6'5" guard who is averaging 7.7 rebounds per game and 11.4 points per game. I think that highlights that is just as much an effort and hustle stat as anything. If a guard is leading them in rebounding, we've got to do better. We've got to crash the boards, and it's going to be tough because they've got some big bodies and obviously a guard that's going to be right there with the nose for the ball. And then their leading assist man, like you mentioned earlier, Sean Newman Jr. He is number 4. He's a 6'1" junior guard, averaging 9.3 assists per game and 9.9 points per game. So he is responsible for a lot of their offense. If you're just looking at 9 assists, if they're all 2-pointers, that's 18 points plus his 10 points. That's 28, 29 points per game that he is responsible for himself. So he, is their proverbial straw that stirs the drink. It does start with him. And he is a facilitator, but he can also score at the same time. So be on the lookout for Sean Newman Jr., number 4. He's good. He's really good. Looking at the team stats, just how we compare to each other. In points per game, WKU is averaging 77.4 points per game. Louisiana Tech is just behind us at 76.4. Almost even there. Points allowed per game, we are allowing 75.4 points per game. Just 2 less than what we're scoring per game. I think that kind of goes to show, how close and how much of a dogfight every game is. Louisiana Tech is only allowing 68.3 points per game, so considerably lower than what they're scoring, and obviously a lot lower than what we are scoring. So that could be, kind of the tail of the tape is what can we do against their defense and their length. If we're not making shots, that could be game over. It could be an early night in Ruston. Looking at the field goal percentage, we're shooting 42.7% on the season. Louisiana Tech shooting 48.4%. Rebounds per game, nearly even, kind of surprisingly. I think that number is probably shifting as the season goes, but we're averaging 37.7 rebounds per game. They're at 37.1. Then assists per game, we're at 12.2 per game to their 16.6. Obviously, Sean Newman is a heavy contributor to that number being so much lopsided in their favor. Blocks per game, WKU is at 2.8 per game. Louisiana Tech's at 4.5. And then steals per game, one stat that we do best them in, we're at 9.1 steals per game. They are at 6.8 steals per game. Tyler, what about some of these stat leaders and just team statistics and how we stack up on paper?
Well, Bacho don't surprise me none. Last year for sure. I think the last few years he's been playing great ball. He knows how to dominate the paint. Caden Cooper, I mean, he's kind of like what Thedford was for us, or what Braxton Bayless can be. Braxton, both of them, and Don McHenry, both of them go in and are able to get rebounds. They do get rebounds. Now, granted, they're not leading the team in rebounds, but and then Sean Newman, apparently he's a facilitator. I think that Western's going to have their hands full with him and Bacho this Thursday. You look down. I guess the one thing that does surprise me was the rebounds per game, that we're actually out rebounding them, not by a lot, but that, to me, that kind of sparks hope. That and the steals per game, if we can get them to cough the ball up and kind of create managed chaos on whenever we're playing defense. I feel like that's only going to benefit us, because we have played and we do like to play a fast tempo type of game. So if we get up and run up and down the court, I feel like that's only going to benefit us in the long run.
Yeah, it's going to be a tough one. I can't wait to watch this game Thursday night, and then obviously recap it next week. Hopefully talking about a win, but it will be tough. And I think we all know that going into that game. Looking at the second game of this road trip on Saturday, January 25th, we play at Sam Houston State University. That game is on ESPN Plus. Sam Houston is currently 8-11 on the season. They are 1-5 in Conference USA play, which is kind of a shock considering how good they were last year. At the top of the league, we're kind of the Cinderella, the darling team in Conference USA, and just goes to show that there's a lot of parity in this league. 5 teams receive first place votes, and I think we're seeing that any team can win on any given night, and especially winning on the road is just hard. Luckily, they are at home for this game. Now, in their most recent games, they lost both of their road games to Kennesaw State and Jacksonville State, just like Louisiana Tech just did. But the ESPN matchup predictor favors Sam Houston State to win this game with a 59.8% chance of winning. Tyler, I think this one is probably going to be close on the court. I think it's going to be a fight. And just, being on the road in general is just going to make this one an uphill battle, and it's going to be tough. But tell me, what are your thoughts on this Sam Houston game?
Let's say last year when we played out there at them, it was a pretty tight game, wasn't it? Like it wasn't just I remember listening to the radio call, and Randy and Hal was talking about how orange the seats were. I believe it was there, and Lamar Wilkerson, he's back. Marcus Boykins, he's back again. Obviously, they didn't lose that many players. They still kept some of the main ones, like Ken Scroggins. I do remember. I remember saying his name last year. Playing at their house. This road swing is going to be a tough one. Team's going to be tested Thursday and Friday and Saturday, both days. And I think this is going. They are learning. We're trying to see how they react to adversity, because this week's going to be full of it. You're playing against 2 good teams. Granted, the record's not where you think it would be, but both teams are coming off back-to-back losses, so they're not going to be happy, and they're going to defend home court. So I would expect to get the best shot from both teams, because they're definitely going to want to beat us.
Yeah, like you said, both of them coming off back-to-back losses on their most recent road trip, and now they're back at home. There's still plenty of time left in conference play to turn that around and start winning some games, and no better time for them than at home. So that's it's going to be a tough games for both of them. Looking at some of the stat leaders for Sam Houston, their leading scorer is Lamar Wilkerson. He is number 3. He is a 6'5" senior guard, averaging 19.8 points per game. Their leading rebounder is Khalifa Sacco. He's number 34. He's a 6'11" senior forward. He's averaging 6.5 rebounds per game to go along with 7.2 points per game. Then their leading assister is Brennan Burns. He's number 0. He's 5'10". He's a senior guard, averaging 3.1 assists per game. Then looking at the team stats, see how we compare in points per game, almost even. WKU's at 77.4 points per game. Sam Houston's at 77.8. Points allowed, we are at 75.4. They are at 77.3. So, both of us almost allowing as many points as we're scoring. I think that kind of shows in our 2-3 conference record. They're 1-5. I didn't go back and look at their exact scores, but I would bet that they have lost some close games. Just looking at their scoring averages there. Field goal percentage, WKU shooting 42.7. Sam Houston's at 45. Rebounds per game, 37.7 to 36. This one's just even, almost across the board. I didn't do blocks and assists, but everything was fairly even. Down this list on paper. Obviously, we're not playing this game on paper. We've got to travel there and go tip it up and see what happens. But anything could happen, quite frankly. I'm not penciling this one in as a loss just because we're dealing with injuries, just because we're coming off of a loss to Middle Tennessee, and we don't know how Louisiana Tech's going to play out. I think this team and our team has a lot of fight in them. But I also think that this Sam Houston team, like you said earlier, they are better than what their record shows. This is a team that can finish near the top of the league. They can compete for the Conference USA Tournament Championship. So it's going to be tough. They've got some talent, and it starts with Lamar Wilkerson. Tyler, what are your thoughts on this team, their players, and the stats that we just talked about?
Lamar Wilkerson likes to pull up from deep. He's leading the conference with 3.5 3-pointers made per game. But I mean, this game, it blocks. Western has 2.8. Sam Houston has 2.5 steals. Western has 9.1. Sam Houston has 7 even. So I mean, you're right though. In the points, pretty much just dead even. Points against, pretty much same. Field goals, they are shooting a little bit better percentage than we are. But I mean, once you get past the the top 3 scores for Sam Houston, it goes. You got 19.8 for Lamar Wilkerson, Cameron Hufner, 14.3. Then Marcus Boykins, 10.1 points per game. After that, you got 9-7, 7-7 forward. So I feel like if you can lock down Lamar and maybe force, Marcus Boykins to try to score the bulk of their points, I feel like you're probably going to be in good shape. But kind of like what we saw whenever we played Jacksonville State, trying to stop one dude could open the door for 2 other guys to come out and have just career nights against you. So I think our team's definitely going to come in with good defense to keep that from happening. But going back to the stats, I'm sorry I ventured off a little bit right there. But the stats, this game's going to be a good one. It's kind of like what I said earlier. It's going to be a scrap. It's going to be a street fight between the whistles. Actually, that would be kind of cool if it did, though.
Malice in the Palace.
Yeah. No, it wouldn't, because that means a lot of players are probably going to be suspended for a few games, and we don't need any more players sitting out any more games. But yeah, I mean, this game is definitely going to be harder than what some people would probably expect. Just because they are 9th in Conference USA, don't mean they're going to be playing like a 9th place team. I mean, this team could come out there and catch fire and be playing like the first place team. As Western, we're going to get everyone's best shot, right? I mean, that's what I've come to expect. So this game's going to be a tough one.
Yeah, absolutely. And as we always do, we're going to talk about some keys to victory, and like we've been doing so far this basketball season, we're just going to tether both of these road games into one set of keys to victory, most valuable topper, and then we'll talk score predictions for each game. So, Tyler, what is going to be your first key to victory for this road trip? Muted.
Thank you. Uh, you know, uh, to me, one thing that kind of stands out is our I don't want to say lack of post presence, but we're going to definitely have to have a great post presence, and we're going to have to be able to get them rebounds because if you can get the quick rebound, then find the outlet guy, and fast break points are the best points if you ask me sometimes, but I feel like that's going to be something we're going to have.
I think we're going to have to shoot better than 33% from the field. We've got to be, sniffing 45 to 50%. Whether that's 3-pointers, heavy dose of them, or whether that's just getting to the basket and getting layups, which is going to be tough when you have Daniel Batcho down there. But a game where you're shooting 33% from the field or 40% or less from the field, we've seen the last few games when we've lost. The field goal percentage has been low across the board, and whether that's shot selection or just shots not going in, whatever it is, we have to shoot better. 101. Make your shots, make as many as you can. We need all the points. In a game like this, which could come down to the wire. We just need to take and make good shots. It doesn't have to be as heavy 3-point. In my opinion, I think we have leaned on the threes a lot, and when they're not going in, it can be a long night. I still believe in when you have a big guy like Batcho, or when you had a big guy like Mustafa last game. I fully believe in driving at their chest and try to get those boys in foul trouble. Get a couple quick fouls first half, put them on the bench, let them watch from the sideline. Get them back in the second half, get them 4 fouls, and think about putting them on the bench again. They can't hurt you from over there. So that's just my opinion. I'm not the coach. Hank knows what he's doing for sure. But yeah, I would love to see us be a little aggressive, go at their chest, and who knows, see what happens. Tyler, what's your second key to victory? You look hyped up over there. What's your second key to victory?
Well, my second key to victory was basically everything you just said, point by point. I was even going to throw in that Batcho can't hurt you if he's sitting on the bench. Now, granted, neither can Hufner, Scroggins, and Sacco for Sam Houston, but yeah, you're right. We have to get aggressive, and not just going after them, but to be aggressive and get to the line. At MTSU, we only got there 12 times. A few years ago, we was getting there like 20 plus every game. So it would be nice if we could get back to that. We do like to play the up-tempo, fast type offense. Use it to our advantage. Drive into somebody instead of coming out and shooting a three. Drive into the lane, try to get the foul, make the and one, and complete the old-fashioned 3-point play.
Yeah, my bad. As always, we don't share notes. It just says bullet point keys to victory. I stole his thunder. My bad. My second key to victory is going to have to be the rebound margin. I think we have to be competitive. I'm not saying win the rebound margin. That's going to be really hard with the size that this Louisiana Tech team has and what we're missing, quite frankly, due to injury. But I think we have to stay competitive. We have to keep it close. The games that we've lost, we've been pretty lopsided in that category. The games that we've won or been competitive in, we've kept it close there. And I think we have to be aggressive. It's a hustle stat. It's a who wants it more. If they have a guard leading them in rebounding, I talked about last year, Brandon Newman, who now transferred to Oklahoma State. He was one of our leading rebounders last year as a guard, that 6'5", 6'6" body that would just go up and get a ball. He was just athletic. He had a nose for it, tracked it well, and just went and got the ball and then pushed the offense as well once he got the ball. So that's what I want to see our guys do. Enoch can do that. Braxton can do that. Dawn had several rebounds this last game. So we've got guys that can go put their nose in there and get the ball, but it's going to be an effort stat. There's going to have to be a concerted effort to let that be more in our favor than just lopsided against us. So I think we have to keep that close. What is your third key to victory versus Louisiana Tech?
Well, I already said it, but I'm going to say it again: manage chaos. Hank, he can change stuff up on the fly. So maybe, and that's manage chaos whenever we're on defense. Like maybe hide, come out in a zone, and then all of a sudden, whenever they pass into the wings or something, come out and trap them, force them to force the ball over, cough it up. Maybe whenever they pass it back out to the top of the key, dude comes in there, swipes it, he's off to the races, easy 2 points. But just try to mix and match our defenses. Keep changing it up, which keeps the opposite team on their toes because they don't know exactly what they're going to be facing. You may be playing man, but you got it covered up as a zone. They don't know, and then their coach calls a play, and then boom, you got them. But I'm just going to say manage chaos.
I think my third key to victory is going to be to get Don McHenry back going again. The last few games have just been a little bit of a slump. Shooters shoot. I expect him to come out and keep shooting and keep shooting and keep shooting. He's got the green light. Until that slump is over, until he catches fire. We know it's in him. We've seen him do it many times over the last year and a half. So we need Don to be Don and more now than ever, with Julius sidelined for the foreseeable future. He's going to have to step up and, 16 to 17 points per game might not do it. We might need 25 to 30 points per game, Don. No pressure, buddy. No pressure at all. But I think this team will go a lot as Don goes. And that's just kind of the position we're in with some injuries in the state of the roster. I do think we have several other, players and Christian, Enoch, et cetera, that can help be supporting players. But I think Don is the head of the snake. He is the straw that stirs the drink, however you want to look at him. But I think he has to get going again for us to find some success on the road and as our season progresses. Tyler, who have you got for your MVT for this road swing?
So this one, I'm going to have to go with Woo Marshall. You ask me, he has the athletic build. He has the basketball player type build. Kind of got them long arms, long legs. Kind of reminds me of a Josh Anderson. He can get out. He can go. He can jump. He can shoot. He can do everything. But I feel like we're going to need him to come up big in this road swing to try to help in the paint or to get rebounds against, Sam Houston. Because the guys down low need all the help they can get, and I believe Marshall can come in off the wings and help, and then go out there and start draining threes. So yeah, that's going to be my MVT.
I may have already gave a sneak peek to mine, but mine's going to be Don McHenry, and I think Tyrone is a great selection. I think he's definitely an X factor to our season. I think we've seen that when he plays at his best, how he played against Kennesaw State, he is a problem. He is a mismatch nightmare. If he drives to the basket, puts his head down, he can get there almost anytime he wants. And once that defense, kind of tightens up or, starts to sag off on him a little bit, and he can make the three as well. But, a lot of times they want to sag off and just let him shoot that three, and if he makes a couple, maybe they tighten up and then he starts to go to the hole. But I think he should be aggressive from the tip. But I'm going to go with Don just because, for everything I said earlier on my third key to victory, he is that guy. He can come out and give you, 25 plus points a game when he gets hot. We just haven't seen that side of Don over the last 3 to 4 games. I don't want to call it a slump, but he's definitely not been shooting as well as what we are accustomed to seeing Don shoot over the last year plus that he's been a Hilltopper. So give me Don. We need him to step up, especially with Julius sidelined for now. Tyler, what are your score predictions for both the Louisiana Tech game and the Sam Houston game.
All right, so I go into every game thinking Western can win, the majority of them. This one ain't no different. At La Tech, I believe we win 71-68. I believe our defense holds La Tech down below their average. And then Sam Houston, we win 80-69. Once again, I feel like our defense coach has drilled into the team. I'm sure they watch video after video after video of that game and of maybe the past few games to see where they have been slacking and what the defenses have been doing to allow the teams just to go the opposite team to go basically unconscious during the second half. And I feel like teams gonna come out with fire lit under their ass.
Well, I'm not quite as optimistic on you as you are, especially for the Louisiana Tech game. I just think that one's going to be a battle. I think Sean Newman is a really good guard, and I think Daniel Bacho is going to be a handful for our bigs, and that's going to be a mismatch problem. Just playing in Ruston in general has been a thorn in our side over many years in basketball conferences. So I have Louisiana Tech winning that ball game 77-72, keeping it close. Hopefully, again, that this is a game that can get ugly if we're not rebounding, if we're shooting 33% like we did against MTSU, that can easily be a 15, 18, 20 point loss. But I like to think that we're going to come out with a renewed energy, want to get on the, putting games back in the left-hand column with some wins. So I expect to see a good effort and hopefully keep this game close. And then in the Sam Houston game, I think this one is really, really tight on paper. And I have it really tight in my final score. I have us winning. I do wear some red glasses occasionally. I've got us winning 76-75. Again, this one could come down to a final shot, a final possession. I think the Hilltoppers have it in them. I think we are really good. I think Sam Houston's underrated, especially for how their record looks right now. But I think they are certainly beatable. And if we play our best basketball, even shorthanded a few bodies, we're still capable of pulling off an upset on the road. I would love to split this road trip. I would love next week to be talking about we won at least one of these games. We win both of them, I'll be elated. If we lose both of them, I won't be surprised, but it will be a tough pill to swallow. And obviously, we'll talk about it and what happened next week when we talk about that. But really looking forward to it. It feels like we've been away from home now forever, for a couple weeks now, especially by the time we get back from this road trip and get back in Diddle Arena. It's going to be, weeks stacked upon weeks since we've had a home game. And even the last home game I had to miss due to being sick on Thursday and out of town on Saturday. So, even longer for me just due to logistics of not being available for those games. So I'm ready to get back to it. Injuries or not, winning or losing games or not, still here to support and talk about these teams and the games. Really excited for it. And also want to talk about the Lady Toppers. They obviously, since we're on the road, they're playing a couple home games against these same teams. And the Thursday game is the 11 a.m. educational day game. So that's the day and the game where all the local elementary schools are going to have, just bus in a bunch of students. And that's going to be a really loud and wild game. I'm actually off on Thursday. I'm thinking about trying to go to that one. I don't know if I have any honeydew items I'm going to have to get done. But if I can sneak into Diddle and catch a couple hours of Lady Topper basketball, I think that will be fun. That's one of my favorite games to get to attend every year if I can. But we're looking forward to that. I think the Lady Toppers can win a couple games this week as well. And I hope the men do as well and just surprise everybody and, silence some of the chatter on the message boards and the Twitter machine of people just, diving into the negative instead of rallying behind this team and realizing, that these injuries are tough to overcome. But I'm really looking forward to these games and just, however they play out. I still think we have a good team. I still think we have a season that can culminate in a championship if we get healthy. I do think there's an if to that. But I'm ready for it. I'm here for it. I'm just glad we still have basketball to watch and be played. And Tyler, hit us with your final words and take us on out.
Yeah, kind of echo what you was talking about. I saw some chatter on Twitter, either during or right after the MTSU game, saying that the season's over with. Just kind of chalk it up, and I don't disagree with that. That's just kind of like a loser's mentality, and you can't go through life like that, let alone cheering for your basketball team like that. It ain't over till it's over. It's not over till the fat lady sings, and I don't know. Maybe I'm just stubborn. Whenever life hits you, you just don't give up on it. You just got to keep pushing forward, keep fighting, keep cheering for your team to keep fighting, because no one wants to be like that. No one wants to be around people like that. It's just kind of sad to me. But with Thedford going down, this kind of opens up the door for Jack Edelin to come in, and he's a facilitator in himself. He's typically good with the ball. He's a great passer. He's kind of, last season he was kind of that change of pace to Don McHenry. So if he gets his shot down pat, maybe get some points going in the scoreboard box. Dude, he could be he wouldn't be as good as Thedford, but he would fill in the hole left by Thedford, which that's big. Thedford is a huge part of this team as a true freshman. He came in and impressed everybody. So hopefully he gets back soon. But this does open up chances for other players to come in and kind of show you what they got. And I think Jack would fit in great there. But yes, if everyone could make it, go out and support the Lady Toppers basketball team. They would greatly appreciate it, especially after just knocking off a great MTSU girls game or girls team. But hope everybody has been having a great week. It's been cold. Hope everybody's staying warm. Hope your pipes ain't busted, because that can get expensive. And it's gonna happen with this cold. But with that, I will say, Moth, who has it better than us, dog?
Nobody, but you know it.
You go Tops.
Go Tops. Later, guys.
See you.